Do you know how a young woman burdened by incurable illness dared to hope, traveling in weakness toward a place where prayer whispered louder than despair? At Lourdes, among silent pilgrims and flowing water, a hidden moment unfolded, unseen by crowds, where faith met grace, and a fragile body was suddenly changed forever. What followed challenged medicine, surprised witnesses, and quietly revealed how God still acts through humble trust. This is the story of the Lourdes miracle of Elisa Seisson. Before beginning, drop an Ave Maria in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more stories of Our Lady. Don't forget to share it so others may discover this story and be inspired to live holier lives. Chapter 1. The Life and Illness of Elisa Seisson. Elisa Seisson was a young French woman who lived a quiet and ordinary life of faith. She was not a nun, not a mystic, and not someone known beyond her local community. Like many believers of her time, she worked, prayed, and endured daily responsibilities with simplicity. Her story does not begin with extraordinary holiness, but with the humble rhythm of an ordinary Christian life, marked by trust, perseverance, and silent fidelity to God. Around the year 1876, Elisa's health began to fail in a serious and alarming way. Doctors diagnosed her with a severe organic heart condition, commonly described as an enlargement of the heart. At a time when medical knowledge was limited, such a diagnosis carried grave implications. What began as weakness and fatigue gradually became a defining burden of her young adulthood, reshaping her daily life and narrowing her physical strength. The illness did not pass quickly or improve with time. Instead, it persisted for years and steadily worsened. Despite medical care and repeated treatments, her condition showed no real sign of recovery. Each passing year confirmed the same reality. Her body was growing weaker, not stronger. The long duration of the illness deepened her suffering, as hope for a natural recovery slowly faded and uncertainty became a constant companion. As her heart condition progressed, Elisa developed severe swelling in both legs. The edema made walking increasingly painful and difficult, robbing her of independence. Simple movements became exhausting tasks. Each step reminded her of her fragility, and daily activities required assistance. Her illness was no longer hidden. It shaped her posture, her pace, and her visible struggle to move through ordinary life with dignity. Medical records from the time also mentioned that Elisa suffered from chronic bronchitis. This additional condition further weakened her body and aggravated her breathing. Combined with her heart disease, it left her constantly fatigued and vulnerable. The interaction of these illnesses drained her strength and left her physically fragile, reinforcing the sense that her health was beyond human repair and steadily declining. Physicians who examined Elisa reached a sobering conclusion. Given the state of medical knowledge and the progression of her condition, they believed her illness to be incurable. There were no effective treatments available to reverse the damage or restore her strength. This medical judgment placed Elisa before a stark reality. Human remedies had reached their limit, and no earthly solution remained within reach. Yet, amid prolonged suffering, Elisa did not surrender to despair. She lived her illness with quiet surrender and interior trust. Rather than turning bitter or hopeless, she placed her life gently in God's hands. Her faith remained simple, steady, and unforced. In weakness, she learned to hope differently, trusting not in outcomes, but in the loving presence of God, who never abandons his children. Chapter 2. The Decision to Journey to Lourdes. Stories of pilgrimages and answered prayers at Lourdes slowly reached Elisa's ears. They were spoken quietly, often with reverence, describing a place where suffering people gathered and entrusted their pain to the Mother of God. These accounts awakened something gentle within her. They did not promise certainty or demand belief, but stirred a longing in her heart, an invitation to hope where human strength had already failed. Elisa's decision to make the pilgrimage was not driven by confidence that she would be healed. She did not travel with expectations or demands. Instead, her choice grew from trust. She believed that going to Lourdes meant placing herself before God without conditions. Whether healing came or not, she desired to surrender her illness, her fears, and her future into God's hands through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. For someone suffering from a severe heart condition, the journey itself was a serious risk. Travel in those days was long, uncomfortable, and physically demanding. Each stage of the pilgrimage posed danger to her fragile body. Friends and family worried for her safety. Yet Elisa accepted the hardship, understanding that this path of faith required courage, endurance, and a willingness to carry her weakness openly. Throughout the journey, Elisa endured exhaustion, pain, and the constant reminder of her physical limits. Her heart struggled, her legs swelled, and her breathing remained labored. There were moments of deep fatigue when each mile seemed too much. Still, she pressed on, supported by others and strengthened by prayer. Her suffering was not hidden. It became part of her offering, united quietly with hope. When Elisa finally arrived at Lourdes, she entered a world shaped by humility and prayer. She joined the great movement of pilgrims, many of them sick and weary like herself. There was no triumphal atmosphere, only reverence and compassion. She blended into the crowd, not as a miracle seeker, but as a soul among many, sharing silence, faith, and mutual support before God. Elisa took part in the spiritual life of the pilgrimage with devotion. She attended prayers, participated in Holy Mass, and joined the rituals offered for the sick. These moments nourished her interior life more than her body. In prayer, she found rest. In the sacraments, she found strength. Lourdes became for her a place not of spectacle, but of deep communion with the Church. Before approaching the grotto of Massabielle, Elisa paused in silent surrender. She entrusted her illness, her fragile life, and her uncertain future to the Blessed Virgin Mary. There were no dramatic words, only quiet abandonment. In that simple act, she placed everything she was and everything she suffered into the care of a mother who listens, waiting peacefully for God's will to unfold. Chapter 3. The Day of Healing at the Grotto of Massabielle. On the 29th of August 1882, Elisa found herself standing at the Grotto of Massabielle, surrounded by pilgrims who carried their own stories of pain and hope. She was 27 years old, visibly weakened by years of illness, yet inwardly calm. The sound of flowing water, murmured prayers, and gentle hymns filled the air. Nothing distinguished her from the others. She came not as someone expecting attention, but as a fragile believer quietly presenting her life before God. Within this atmosphere of prayer, Elisa approached the rite connected with the waters of Lourdes. Guided with care and reverence, she followed the simple instructions given to the sick. The water was offered not as a remedy in itself, but as a sign joined to prayer and faith. For Elisa, this moment expressed obedience and trust. She placed herself within the prayer of the Church, believing that God alone knew what was best for her. There was nothing dramatic in Elisa's behavior. She did not cry out, raise her hands, or draw attention to herself. Her prayer unfolded silently, shaped by years of suffering patiently endured. In her heart, she entrusted everything she was, her weakened body, her fears, and even the possibility that no healing would come. Her stillness reflected deep surrender, a faith purified by long endurance rather than emotional intensity. Suddenly, in that quiet moment, Elisa perceived a striking change within her body. It was not vague or uncertain, but immediate and clear. She sensed something different, especially in her chest and in her legs, where pain and heaviness had dominated for years. The change came without warning. It was not gradual relief, but a sudden inner certainty that something profound had taken place beyond her own effort or imagination. The weight that had pressed upon her body seemed to lift. Her heartbeat felt calm, strong, and regular, no longer strained or exhausting. Breath flowed more freely. Energy returned, where weakness had ruled for so long. Elisa realized that her body was responding in a way it never had before. The familiar signs of illness were gone, replaced by a surprising sense of strength and interior peace. With hesitation mixed with awe, Elisa stood up. She placed her feet firmly on the ground and began to walk. There was no pain, no swelling, no instability. The legs that once limited her now carried her easily. This simple act revealed the truth more clearly than words. Her body moved freely, restoring to her a dignity she had long lost through illness. Those nearby noticed the transformation and quietly bore witness to it. Faces reflected astonishment, yet the moment remained reverent and composed. Elisa did not seek recognition or explanation. She lowered her gaze and offered thanks in silence. Her gratitude rose toward God and toward the Blessed Virgin Mary. Without words or display, she received the gift with humility, letting praise speak only within her heart. Chapter 4. Medical examination and recognition by the Church. After her healing, Elisa did not withdraw into private gratitude or allow the event to remain only a personal experience. In keeping with the strict procedures established at Lourdes, she presented herself to the medical authorities and formally reported what had occurred. This act reflected humility and obedience. Lourdes was never a place for unchecked claims. Each testimony was received with seriousness, ensuring that truth, not emotion, would guide the discernment. Physicians examined Elisa carefully and without haste. They compared her present condition with medical records describing years of serious illness. The enlarged heart, the swelling of her legs, and the visible weakness were no longer evident. Her breathing was stable, her movements natural, her strength restored. These observations were not superficial impressions, but clinical findings that contradicted everything previously known about her health. When Elisa returned home, the scrutiny continued. She remained under medical observation for a long period, undergoing repeated examinations. Doctors sought any sign of relapse or gradual return of symptoms. None appeared. Seasons passed, yet her health remained intact. This prolonged follow-up was essential, ruling out temporary improvement, emotional excitement, or misdiagnosis. Time itself became a silent witness to the permanence of her recovery. As years went by, the medical conclusion became increasingly firm. The healing was sudden, complete, and lasting. No treatment, therapy, or natural explanation could account for the transformation. Physicians acknowledged the limits of their science with honesty. Their role was not to declare meaning or faith, but to attest that the cure lay beyond known medical causes, standing as an objective and verified fact. With medical certainty established, the case was forwarded to the competent ecclesiastical authorities. The Church approached the matter with equal rigor. Testimonies were gathered, timelines verified, and documentation examined in detail. There was no rush toward a declaration. The Church's responsibility was to protect the integrity of faith, ensuring that devotion would never rest on error, exaggeration, or misunderstanding. After many years of careful investigation, the Church reached its judgment. On the 2nd of July, 1912, the Diocese of Aix-en-Provence officially recognized Elisa Seisson's cure as a miracle. This declaration affirmed that the healing could not be explained by natural causes and had occurred through divine intervention, following a process marked by patience, seriousness, and fidelity to truth. In recognizing the miracle, the Church also clarified its meaning. Such healings are not opposed to reason or scientific inquiry. They do not replace faith, nor do they compel belief. Instead, they stand as signs of God's grace, offered through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. They invite hearts to conversion, humility, and deeper trust in God, who acts freely and lovingly within history. Chapter 5. Lessons of Faith and a Prayer to Our Lady. Miracles are not rewards reserved for the strong, the perfect, or the heroic. They are gifts of grace offered to humble faith. The story of Lourdes reminds us that God does not measure worth by endurance or success, but by trust. Often, those who receive the greatest signs are the ones who come empty-handed, aware of their weakness, and open to receive whatever God desires to give. Lourdes also teaches that God acts according to his own time, not according to human urgency or demand. Many arrive seeking immediate answers, yet grace often unfolds slowly, quietly, and unexpectedly. God is never late, yet rarely early by our standards. In this waiting, faith is purified. Trust deepens when we learn to surrender control and allow God to remain God in our lives. Every healing of the body points beyond itself. Physical restoration, when it occurs, is never an end in itself. It invites a deeper conversion of the heart and a renewed communion with Christ. Even those who are not healed physically are called to a profound inner healing. Lourdes reminds us that salvation touches the whole person, body and soul, within the living body of the Church. Our Lady of Lourdes, teach us to trust when suffering seems endless and prayers appear unanswered. Help us remain faithful when pain becomes familiar and hope feels distant. Like the pilgrims who come before you in weakness, guide us to place our lives in God's hands. Teach us to believe that even hidden grace is still grace, and that God never abandons his children. Mother of Mercy, sustain all who carry illness of body or wounds of the heart. Strengthen those who feel forgotten, misunderstood, or exhausted by long suffering. Be close to caregivers, families, and all who accompany the sick. Wrap them in your maternal tenderness and help them discover meaning, dignity, and hope, even in the midst of pain and uncertainty. Teach us, Blessed Mother, to accept the will of God with peace, whether healing comes or not. Free us from resentment and fear when outcomes differ from our hopes. Help us believe that God's love is not measured by miracles alone. Grant us the grace to say yes, trusting that his plan leads always toward life, even through the mystery of the cross. Lead us, Our Lady, ever closer to your Son, Jesus Christ, within his Church. Draw us into deeper communion, prayer, and sacramental life. May our faith mature through trust, our hope through surrender, and our love through service. Under your gentle guidance, may we walk together as pilgrims until we reach the fullness of life promised by God. Amen.